Hello and welcome to No Wrong Choices, a podcast about the adventures of life that explores the career journeys of successful and interesting people. I'm Larry Samuels, soon to be joined by the other fellas Tushar Saxena and Larry Shea. If you've been enjoying the show, please support us by giving No Wrong Choices a 5-star rating on your podcasting platform and by pressing follow or subscribe. You can also learn more about us at NoWrongChoices.com and by looking for us on social media. This episode features the talented, creative, and award-winning voiceover artist and coach Shelly Shenoy, who has done countless commercials, video games, and animations. She has also been the coach of Larry Shea, so I guess, Larry, in a way, that makes you a disciple of Shelly, so you are undoubtedly the right person to lead us into this conversation.
That's right. Spreading the gospel of Shelly Shenoy is apparently what I'm doing today. Yeah, Shelly's great. Our paths crossed so many years ago doing acting work. We would be invited to the same table reads for different plays and movies. And I think that's how our paths crossed. But she's special. You know, you meet people in this industry and sometimes they just have that it factor, that thing that you're like, oh my God, this person's going to be a star with whatever they do. And when I get in the room with Shelly or talk to her, that's what I feel, because she has that spark. She has this intuitiveness of creativity that allows her to do things with her voice that mere mortals like myself can't do. So she's super impressive. I'm super excited to get to talk to her, to hear her journey and hear her story, because I've never heard it myself, so I'm curious.
I'll tell you what. First of all, she's got the best name I've ever heard in my life. Shelly Shenoy.
From Sheboygan.
Exactly. That is the best name you could possibly have. If anything, it's memorable. Second, you know what? I am always in awe of voiceover artists, because it is not an easy thing to do, because it's not just you or me speaking, right? I mean, we all, in one way or another, the three of us, we make a living with our voices, right? But we don't make a living having to try and contort our voice into, a dozen different ways, having put on dialects, all these other things. That is a real skill. And we know we have plenty of our friends who are also actors and comedians. None of them have to do these things in one way or another, especially not in the way that a Shelly Shenoy has to. So that is what I'm really fascinated to hear, because I'll be honest, I love to put on goofy voices too, but when you're in the presence of an artist, then you're just a potser. So I want to speak to this Shelly Shenoy.
Yeah, it's impressive what she does, because don't forget, these are just words on a page, right? And then the voiceover artist is the one who brings them to life and embodies them. They're just words on a page, so it's super impressive what she does.
For sure. And, doing our research, I heard many, many different creative examples that kind of blew my mind and were very impressive. So with that, here is Shelly Shenoy. Now joining No Wrong Choices is the award-winning voiceover artist and coach, Shelly Shenoy. Shelly has been working in commercial, narration, and animation for over 20 years, and acting for what seems to be her entire life. Shelly, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for I'm sorry, you made me sound so old. I had to answer. I was like, over 20 years. It probably doesn't sound old to other people, but it sounds like a long time to me. So I'm like, it's my pleasure.
First question, Shelly. Yeah. Are you from Sheboygan?
No. You're obsessed.
But she wishes she was from Sheboygan.
You love my name, right? Shelly Sheboygan.
It's the greatest name I've ever
Sheboygan.
heard. I'm not kidding. It's a great name.
I love it. Yeah. Yes. Then the answer is yes.
It's an entertainment name for sure. Shelly, it's so good to talk to you. We were trying to figure out where we've met along the way, and we think it was a million years ago doing some acting work at a table read or something like that. But it's so good to have you on. You've also been my teacher, so full disclosure, of voiceover work. But let's start with what voiceover is and the various types of voiceover and your specialty. What is it that you do on a day-to-day basis?
Sure. That's a great question. So, and yes, I think it was a million years ago that we met.
At least.
But like our relationship was on the microphone almost right away.
Yes.
Like I think we did table reads, but then next thing you know, we were at Sirius XM using the equipment.
Yes, we were in the studio that you used to use to do lessons. I went over there for those lessons as well. So yeah, we were on the mic right away pretty much.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And that was a million years ago. Like honestly, like 15, maybe 10,
it could
12.
have been. It could,
15?
yeah,
That's a
yeah.
while.
It could have been 2006, 7, something.
Oh
it's-
yeah, that was a long time ago. Okay, so
Ancient
the
history.
so to answer this, the voiceover world is absolutely massive. Okay, and it's best broken down into 3 categories, right? You've got commercial, the art of the sale, narration, long form reads, and stamina voiceovers, unbiased narrations, educational or entertainment based. I mean, the narration world is that, and then you have animation, which is performance voiceover work. It's wearing your heart on your sleeve, and you're truly acting in the game. And so for me, I have a beef with narration. I have done a lot of it, and I don't like doing it. It's not my favorite. Like, I love doing narration for film or television, but long form stamina reads are not what I like to do. I've done some, not my fave. My career took off in the world of commercial and in animation.
All right, so let's go back to the beginning then, because Larry Samuels mentioned right when we started that you've been acting since you were a kid. So have you always had the acting bug? Is that it? You always wanted to be on stage? You always wanted to be seen?
Yeah. We were in the Midwest, and I had a lot of siblings, and you had to be seen.
How many brothers and sisters?
Oh, I have 3 older brothers and 1 little sister. And
you got to be seen. I get you.
And you got to be seen. And so it was Battle of Wits. The funniest person held the floor. And it was definitely the best improviser or the funniest person got to hold the floor of the whole family. And it started there, but I asked to be a part of classes when I was 4, and then was doing my first commercials when I was like 7.
And how did that happen? So when your parents took you because you asked and it
Yeah.
was an activity, like how did you stand out and how did you wind up getting introduced to the professional world?
Actually, Larry, I have a much more important way of answering this. So when I knew for a fact that this was going to be my journey, my parents ended up splitting up and moving all over the country, and I was sort of ping-ponged back and forth. And so I was born in Denver. I was raised in Columbus, Ohio, Provo, Utah, Southern California, and then I moved to New York as quickly as I could.
Wow.
And
Wow.
in those different states, even if it was the same state, like one of my parents will have moved to an adjoining town. And so then I would come back there and go to a different school. And so I went to 7 schools between 6th grade and high school graduation.
Wow.
I went to, it was either 7 or 8 schools. And so to answer your question, when I knew this was going to be like my life, every new school I ever went to, in order not to be crucified as the new kid again and again and again, I was like, I got to know this game. I got to figure out how to work this game.
Yep.
Like, it was just figuring out how not to get crushed. And, as the new kid, nobody knew who I was. And sometimes I would be starting school a few weeks later than the rest of them because I was just moving all over the place. And so I was extra new when they all had their first day of school a few weeks back. So right away, the first thing I did in every single school that we went to was I had my parents make sure that there was a drama department. And that was the first elective that that's okay. That was,
It's okay.
Hey, I've done this before, but for you guys, I keep my ringer on because I like to keep
Because you're
this
comfortable and this is a
spontaneous.
relaxed environment the way it should
I
be.
should have answered, actually.
Oh my goodness.
So I joined the drama department, and that's what saved my ass. Is you make friends there. The kids in the drama department were always so much more easygoing or understanding and less, angry, bitter, bullyish.
Yep.
And then I sort of rose up through the ranks that way.
So the original dream then was acting. Like so.
Oh yeah.
So when did voice become part of what you knew you were good at, or did you not know that you were good at voices? Was it all about acting, and I'm just going to go full bore ahead on that plane?
I had no idea.
Okay.
I had no idea. I knew that I loved acting more than anything. And in some cases, it was a lifesaver for me, or certainly a needed escape, right? It was everything to me. And it gave me so much and taught me so much. And so with voiceover, there's a couple different ways of answering this question. So I'll toss this back to you. Would you rather know like where I started on the mic or where my career took off?
That's a great question. Back to us. I mean, I think we want to know your journey. So let's just start with your journey, and then I want you to veer off into bang. Then the microphone became a presence in my life.
Okay.
So yeah, let's let's stay with the acting and how that shaped your world. I think that's important.
Okay, great. So I stay with the acting, and right out of high school, I have the option to enroll in a school in Southern California, where if I'm enrolled in this school, I have the option for auditioning for the Young Americans, which is a national touring company where they do Broadway elite shows. They have the rights to some of the most privileged performance stuff in the world. And you got to go on national tours and teach kids how to perform, sing, dance, choreography, everything. And then, so when we would train kids for 3 days in a 3-day workshop. And then on performance night, the first hour was the Young Americans doing Broadway work. And the second hour was everything we taught the kids, which is how we got audiences of thousands in these little towns, because they would invite their whole families, their teachers, their parents' friends, their siblings' friends. We had thousands of people in the audience every 3 days when we did a new show in a new city.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
When I look back or think back to your high school time, I'm eager to learn a little bit more about that, meaning, what prepared you for this Young American stuff? So were you doing all the high school musicals? Were you doing, work outside of school? Like, was your whole life acting? Was it an activity? Like, what type of stuff were you doing to prepare yourself for the Young American stuff?
Okay, so this is a really good question, because the reason why I didn't think, I want to register at this school in Southern California. I targeted, I want to be in the Young Americans. That's what the end goal was. And so
it was a goal. You knew. The
reason why I knew I wanted to get my booty to Los Angeles to audition for this touring company was because when I was a senior in high school, at the last high school I attended, the last high school I went to was the first time since elementary school where I was able to go to the same school for 2 years in a row. And so I went to this high school my junior and senior year. It was a major performance high school in Provo, Utah. And at the end of my senior year, I was able to go with the class of seniors at this, advanced elite, drama program that we were in. And we were able to go to Weber University and audition. And this was where I thought my life was going to go, because this audition process, they took the senior kids from all over the state of Utah and they auditioned them at Weber, which is a musical theater university. And oftentimes from Weber, you go to Broadway. And it's a performance, college and all of this. And so I got ready for like an entire semester. I was planning on this audition at Weber. And everybody goes and auditions, and you do monologues, you do songs, you do everything that they have you do, and you sort of go through the ranks, and then that's it. And then weeks later, you find out that 4 kids won the 1 year each scholarship, 2 kids won 2 years of a scholarship, and 1 person won a full 4-year ride. So
and who was that person?
Yeah, which one were you?
Okay, so which one was I? Couple weeks later, I'm at my dad's house in Provo, Utah, and a messenger, like a courier, came to the door. And this was not a thing. This is not like there was Amazon.
This
right?
isn't like 1934 or something.
Picturing a whole outfit, a funny hat.
With the outfit and the hat.
Yes. He came to the door.
Came on a horse.
Came to the door and he knocked on it. And I said, Father, I'm going to get it. And so I answered the door. It's like this UPS guy or whatever. And I'm just saying not like now because I'm an Amazon hoarder. Like every day boxes are coming over. They live in New York City. So like I don't have a car. Right? If I need something, I Amazon something because, like, I don't know. That's what you do.
That's it.
So anyway, so a courier came to the door, and I opened the box was to me, I opened up the box and inside was like this scroll. I have no idea what I'm looking at. I'm like, what the heck is that? You know, I'm pulling off the sides and like opening it, and then you unscroll it because it was like scrolled.
Wow.
It was an actual scroll?
It was a scroll. I was like, what is this tubular thing? Like, is this, hold on, like, is this a Nerf gun? Like, I swear I thought it was like, you know, a Nerf gun. Anyway, so I was just like, what in the world? And it said, it was something along the lines of like, Weber University offer our deepest and sincerest congratulations to Michelle Smith, who has won the 4-year ride scholarship to Weber University.
That's great.
All 4 years are paid for.
Oh my
please
goodness.
accept please accept this by way of da 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 da. Right? It was this, and I was just like, oh my gosh, you know, and screaming. I run it to my dad. My dad is screaming. We're like, oh my gosh. And within a week of accepting, of learning that I won the full 4-year ride, I found out that my high school wasn't going to let me walk at graduation because I only went to that school 2 out of 4 years and I couldn't make up the electives needed in order to be able to walk. And so these are electives I would have had to take at my freshman year or my sophomore year. And I was at 2 different high schools at my freshman year and then a different high school at my sophomore year. And everybody had different elective requirements. They weren't going to let me walk. And we went down there. We even spoke to an attorney. We did everything we could possibly think of, and they wouldn't let me walk, which meant I wasn't able to accept the scholarship.
Oh my!
Wow.
We we talked to the high school. We spoke to an attorney. We also spoke to Weber.
Wow.
They wouldn't let it happen.
Wow.
You had to
In today's
walk.
world, you'd spend a lot of time on Twitter and blasting these people on social media.
You know, and I'm not one of those people, but God, I wish that I could have done something like that. I truly do, because I was powerless.
Yeah.
And so let me tell you, man, with red laser beams in my eyes, I was like, I'm going to Los Angeles. Like, it was like, there's this group, this tour group. My sister had mentioned it before. You have to be the best of the best of the best in order to get, you know, in order to make it into this crew where you're suddenly doing Broadway work. Got to LA, auditioned, got in, went on, and I auditioned and made my first national tour. I became the leader of the New Kids of that year. I went on 3 national tours with them and did credits in school while I was on the road, and then decided I'm kind of done with school because I don't even know what these credits mean for this like college that I was like sort of attending, but I was mostly just 999% just doing the Young Americans and the training and the being on the road and working on the mic and singing and dancing and doing all of these and training kids, doing all of this. After my last tour, I said, all right, I need to get to New York. And it was 2000. It was 2000. I got there. It was 2001. And I was like, I need to just pack my bags and get to New York.
Did you know anyone in the city
I did.
that
I
could
knew
help you?
no one.
So what did you do? What was that process? You just showed
That's
up
a
and
great
started
question.
auditioning?
No. I had a stepping stone. And the stepping stone was my brother Ben lived in a house. They were renting a house with 3 of his college roomies. And he was like, I mean, we don't have any more room at this house, but like, if you need this as a stepping stone to save money, to get closer to New York and save money for New York, you can live on the patio.
Wait, where was this?
This
Where
is
was
in
the house?
Columbus, Ohio. My brother Ben was
Okay,
living in
right.
Columbus, Ohio,
Okay.
and he offered to let me live on the patio.
Wow.
In the back.
So you
the
got
back
the Florida
patio.
room.
So I got the Florida room in the back of the house. I took on 4 jobs, maybe more, to save money and I had like I think it was exactly a 1-year goal. And it didn't work out for me, but I still moved to New York one year later. It actually did work out very magically. It was insane. And I'll tell you this story in under 45 seconds. Here we go. My
No worries.
goal was come up with an arbitrary number that you can't imagine. That's enough money to move to New York and live there to start with. And the number I came up with was $4,000. It was more money than I could ever possibly imagine. And I was like, $4,000, make $4,000 this year. Just save every penny and make $4,000 and you'll be able to live in New York. You'll make it. You'll at least get there.
Wow.
And I was set. I had a lot of faxing to do to try to get this apartment. I found an apartment in an all women's residence that was like, it was fascinating. It was like dorm rooms. And it was $1,000 a month. It was crazy, but it was all I got. Yeah. I found this place and it was all I got. And I was like, it seems pretty safe, you know? And so I'll do it. And in December, at the beginning of December, I had 1 month left and I had made $2,300.
Oh boy.
And what ended up happening was I had $2,300 and 4 weeks left. And I got into a car accident and totaled my car, the car I was going to sell.
Yeah.
And so I totaled my car. And then when my boyfriend was driving me to work, we got in an accident on the freeway that wasn't his fault. And his car got totaled.
Oh my God.
And then I had 3.5 weeks left and no transportation at all to get to any of the jobs that I had. And I remember after the accident on the freeway with his car, his insurance called me. They were like, what's going on? You know, what happened? I told them the whole story. I was bawling and I was just like, I can't go to work. How am I supposed to have enough money to go to New York? I'm supposed to go to New York. Like, that's really, honestly, the whole conversation I was talking about New York, and this woman on the phone was like, okay.
We'll cut you a check for $1,700, dollface.
No idea what to say to me.
You didn't double as a therapist?
No, she was just like, alrighty, okay. Like I heard her using like corporate voice, not having.
They didn't have a script for that.
Yeah, no idea what to say to this kid, you know. And it was like, I was just bawling, and still not knowing what to do. I was trying to make grassroots work. I was trying to pick up babysitting jobs because no actual job would now rehire me in a closer location because I was leaving in a month. And 8 days later, a check came in the mail for the exact dollar amount that brought my total to $4,000.
Oh, wow.
That's amazing.
Wait, from the insurance company. That's just a rando check.
From my boyfriend's insurance, from that woman on the phone.
Oh, my God.
Incredible. I was waiting for the organ donor story that was going to somehow bridge the gap.
It was that woman on the phone trying to figure out, like, she was like, and how much work are you missing? And I was like, all the work. and meanwhile, like, my tips, like, at waitressing, like, I was making like $12 a day in Columbus, Ohio. Like, nobody's tipping, you know, but it was something. And I was making nothing, but she determined, well, this should cover her.
Amazing. So that was
heartless-
your first break, or one of your
Truly.
first breaks.
Some heartless insurance company paid for you to go to New York.
Can you
Look at
believe
this.
it? And to be totally honest, I probably voiced for that company later. Like, if that was Geico, I've got them in the bag. Like, I paid my dues, and then they just kept sending me money.
That is great.
So you've got your $4,000 and off to New York you go.
Yeah.
You know, what happens? How do you get settled and what do you do next?
Yeah, so I hit the ground running, trying to find work, just counting down the exact dollar amount that I had every day, right? I was, just trying to find work. It was right after September 11th.
Yeah.
So there was no work, frankly.
Right.
And so I was just trying to make ends meet, and I ended up, oh man, I got this job. I got there, and every single day for 8 hours a day in my pea coat, by the way, because it's January. It's the first week of January, and I have no idea what a real winter is. Okay, no idea. And
you're from the Midwest. How do you know what a real winter is?
Oh, honey boo boo. There is a much different winter that happens in Columbus, Ohio, that happens on the ocean on the island of Manhattan. Okay? In the metro jungle, nothing had prepared me for a winter like what was here. And also in 2002, that was one of the most brutal
That was a
winters.
rough winter. I do remember that was a rough winter.
It was a brutal winter, and I had a pea coat, man. Because in Ohio, I mean, you're driving in your car everywhere.
Sure. Just get from the house to the car to the place. You're good.
Yeah, it never occurred to me that I was going to be on foot for the rest of my life.
Welcome to New York.
Yeah. I mean, frankly, I never drove again.
Wow.
That was the last time I drove. I never drove again. Like, I'll take the subway, I'll take a cab, I'll take an Uber, whatever. I'll take a city bike, but I'm not getting in a car. There's
probably
no
a good thing with all the accidents you were
you
into.
don't seem to have much luck with them.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Oh my God.
gosh.
So what was the job? You said you were doing 8 hours a day. What did you do?
So 8 hours a day, I was trying to give people my freaking resume. My non-experienced resume of just like, I'm a great actor and I'll babysit your kids and I'll run your cash register. I'll clean your store. I'll type your letters. I didn't know what I was trying to get, but I had my resume. It looked as good as I could have it look. And I was knocking door to door to door to door every day, all day. Finally, I went downtown. I walked into a restaurant. I just was like, this is the place. I walked into a restaurant like, with that gusto of, I'm not going to leave here without a job. This place looks really busy. And the bartender looked at me when I walked in and she was like, hi, can I help? Oh, yeah, we don't have any jobs. She made the transition on her own, right? She was like, shit. Like, we got a hungry kid.
Another crestfallen kid here.
Yeah, like Orphan Annie here. Like, and so I was like, please, is there anything, any way? Just rack your brain. I would never push you, but I'm pushing you now. Do you guys have anything at all? Right? I was like, this is my 10th day. I have to get a job, right? 10th day in New York. And I've got nothing. Like, I told myself I would give myself 5 days to get a job. We're at 10 days. Guys, I'm running out of money.
Yeah.
And I'm not spending on anything. I'm trying to eat and I'm even skipping meals.
Yep.
Okay. And so I'm like, please, like urgently. And she was like, I mean, I don't know. I'm rooting for you, man. But okay, the owner's over there and I don't know. You seem like the type of person he'd want to hire, but I don't know what else to give you, because he just hired 5 people. And I was like, just give me a minute with him, right? So he's finishing up a meeting on the other side of the restaurant. He comes zooming right past me, and the bartender was like, Michael, called out to him, and he was like, yeah. And he turned around and he saw me and he went, nope. And he turned on his heel.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my God. And so I was like, wait. And then I talked out of my butt better than I'd ever done in my life. And I did it knowing that I was lying through my teeth. I just went, but I was like, I've got nothing left. And so anyway, so he goes, I understand you just hired 5 people. And he's like, yeah, we did. And I was like, I'm really sorry because none of them are me. And I'm the best waiter in New York.
Whoa.
And and he was like, I'm sorry, what? And I was like, the best of the entire best. You name a place, I'll tell you. I've worked there. I aced it. Okay. So immediately he can tell I'm lying. Like immediately. Because I was like, name a place, any place in the world. I worked there. Okay. And he kind of like tilts his head to the side and he's like, really? So just name a place and you've worked there. And I was like, yep. And I worked there so good. And he was like, really? And he goes, well, what makes you such a great waiter? I got no answer. I literally look around the room and I go, I'm so fast. He's like, what? And I go, I'm fast. I'm so fast. Look, I can go from here to here. And I literally was like, shuffle. I was like, tap a table, run, tap a table, run. Like I like did sprints. And I knew that with this like physical comedy, at least, while never breaking eye contact, by the way, that there was no way that he wouldn't laugh, and he's trying not to laugh. And I'm playing it so straight and knowing with my eyebrows up that this is insane. But I kept doing everything he said. I came up with a ludicrous answer. And then I never even blinked. I just stared at him like, what's next? What do you want me to prove or show? You know? And,
So this was your first professional acting job right here.
Basically.
Job interview.
So
Maybe the most important one.
So
right.
long story short, he hired me. How could he not? Right? I was doing the truffle
Shelly
shuffle.
shuffle.
The truffle shuffle, Shelly shuffle,
The Shelly shuffle.
Sheboygan shuffle,
There you
and he hired me. He was like, "All right." He goes, "Do you have references in a resume?" And that was the first time I realized I got on the subway empty-handed. I didn't even realize that I didn't have my resumes that day. And I was like, "Yeah, I can go home and get them." And he goes, "Oh fuck, don't bother. Just go home, change your clothes. Your uniform's all black. You start at 5 o'clock."
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Oh, nice.
And that's what happened. I ran home, changed my clothes, and this was the deal. You work 3 days straight, take 1 day off, work your 4th day. On none of those 4 days do you get paid. And then on your 5th day, you start earning your tips. But you had to shadow for 4 days to prove that you were a great waiter and that you were there to hustle and make money. But you had to do the first 4 days for free.
Interesting.
Wow.
To shadow, because you were shadowing, right? Finger quotes here. You were shadowing. And you're learning the ropes of the entire restaurant. Hey, I get it. By the 3rd day, all the waiters were cutting me shares of their tips.
Wow.
Like they were
Oh, no
cutting me.
kidding.
Yeah, they were giving me, they were greasing the wheels, like just little bits here and there. Waiters started tipping me because I was hustling so much to try to make the restaurant flow really well. People noticed, people gave me money. So on the 4th day, the 1 day off, was the day that I allowed myself to sleep in for the first time. It's been like 2 weeks. I'm in New York. First time I'm able to sleep in. And that was the day that changed my life, that I slept in. So remember I told you I was in an all-women's dorm?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you were to call me, any of you were to call me, you would say, the front desk would answer and you would say, "Hey, I'm calling Shelly. She's in 522 in my room, 522. And the front desk operator would connect you to the telephone room line. I had my own cell phone, but the rooms, the dorms, they had phones. And they were just kind of like a landline. And at 7:15 a.m. on the 1 day I allowed myself to sleep in, my phone rang. And I stumbled to the phone. And I don't want to like go on telling crazy stories, but this was the game changer. And this was how I ended up surviving in New York.
Yeah.
And I can keep this really quick, but the magic of this was my phone rang. I was like, "Hello." And this girl was like, "Hi, Shelly." And I was like, yeah. And she was like, "Hi, this is the Calhoun School on 74th. We're calling today to see if you guys, if you would be able to substitute teach today."
Huh.
Oh,
Silence,
wow.
silence, right? I'm like, "Sorry, this is Timmy. Who is this?" And she goes, "Shelly, it's Timmy from Calhoun." And I'm like, "Right." And she goes, "I'm calling to see if you can substitute today." And I was like, yeah. And in my mind of trying to wake up and also like, hey, I need money, right? I was like, sorry, how do we, and the question I thought to ask her in the fog of what is happening, right? I said, what's my last name, Timmy? And she goes, Mandalant, Mandahlant. And I went, "Timmy, don't hang up the phone." And she's like, "I'm sorry." And I go, "My name is not Shelly Mandalant, and it's occurring to me that I moved into this apartment 2 weeks ago, and while I was moving in, the woman that was moving me in said, 'Oh, that's so funny. A girl named Shelly just moved out.' Okay, so that was your Shelly Mandalant, but listen, I'm a teacher."
Of course you are.
I'm the
I'm
best
imagining
teacher.
school
You name a
rock
school,
right now.
I've taught there.
Oh my God. Yes. Oh my God. I was so Jack Black as a teacher, right? But like, think of it. I had just done 3 national tours with the Young Americans. I was teaching kids all over the United States on these tours.
Yeah.
I come from a huge family of siblings and all of my family members are teachers. I was like, I'm a teacher. Right. Here we go.
And you're an
And
actor.
she
You
was-
could be anything.
I could be anything. I was like, and I'm also a doctor, but we'll get to that. Right. So she was like, I'm sorry. Yeah, there's no chance. I'm sorry. No. And I go, "Timmy, do you need a substitute teacher today or not?" And she was
I can
like,
move so fast.
Yeah,
you
so
cannot understand
fast.
how fast I can move.
It was 7:15 in the morning. And
my
anyway, so she was, I've never told this story on an interview, by the way. And she goes, she was like, I'm sorry. Can you hold on for 1 second? She puts me on hold, comes back like 3 minutes later. Cause who knows who she had to talk to. She comes back on the phone and she goes, and you have references and a resume, correct? And I go, yes, I do. I've got them. I'm actually holding them in my hands right now. And she goes, we are so usually more professional than this, and we are going to run you through the ranks and check all of your references and all of your everything that you've listed on your contact sheets. But how soon can you get here?
Yeah, we'll be here in 20 minutes.
I go, where are you? I'll be there in 10 minutes.
Oh my
And
God.
and so I showed up. I burst through the door at Calhoun School. I saw Timmy immediately. I knew who she was. I pointed right at her. I was like, Timmy! And she was like, oh my God, what is happening? She took my paperwork. She was like, you're on the 3rd floor. You're in Mrs. Deborah's class or something, Miss Deborah's class or something. And they're lining up right now, doing circle lineup. And I was like, great. I ran in the door and the teacher was like, Shelly? And I was like, yeah. She's like, we're circling up over here with kindergartners. I sat down. A girl tapped me on the shoulder. She was like, I'm Dara. Hi, Dara. Can I sit on your lap? Yeah, you can sit on my lap. She sat on my lap and she goes, can we be friends? And I was like, of course we can. And when she turned back around to like face the teacher, I welled up with tears because I just made my first friend in New York.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh, look at that.
And
What an incredible story.
that was how that went.
Oh my.
Did you stick? Did you do multiple days?
I worked
with
at Calhoun for 2 years, and working at Calhoun, I immediately was like the babysitter to be had. Little did I know, like one of the teachers approached me one day and she was like, hey, so listen, all of the kids are talking about you. So you're going to rise through the ranks really quickly as a babysitter here. And when the first parent asks you, you charge $20 an hour, not a penny less. That's our going
Nice.
rate. We all share it. Do you understand? And I go, $20 an hour to babysit? She goes, not $1 less. And I was like, oh my God. And so Calhoun, I worked at Calhoun for 2 years. I immediately rose through the ranks as a babysitter and an au pair. And every day of my life, get up at 7 or earlier, go and work the elementary school substitute teaching until 2:45, babysit the kids until their parents came home at 5:30, be at the restaurant by 6, work until midnight.
Wow.
That was every day.
That's one hell of a life. You did that for 2 years.
And I did that for exactly 2 years. And working as an au pair was how I ended up getting my passport. When you're like meeting all of these very well-to-do parents and they're like, hey, by the way, can you come with us to Mexico next week? Sure.
Sure, you can.
Yeah.
At
And
this
that's-
point,
yeah.
is the dream? I mean, obviously, you just had to survive.
Oh,
you had to do what you had
yeah.
to do. But where's the dream at this point? It's so on the back burner, right?
I had a rule when I came to New York. Don't audition for anything for 1 solid year.
Oh, wow. Now, why would you make that rule with yourself? That you wanted to just get your footing? Like, what was that
Because
about?
I needed to survive, Larry.
Yeah.
I needed to survive. Like, I was like, this is the thing. Money is the thing that is making people either survive or not survive. I would watch a waiter a week vanish from the restaurant. Oh, yeah, she moved back to Oklahoma. Oh, yeah, he went back to Nevada. Wherever they were from, they were leaving just as fast as they were coming in. These actors weren't making it.
Yeah.
These waiters,
tough tab.
actors. It was really tough. And I was like, stay focused, work 100 hours a week for at least a year before you do your, and I started saving money and actually having security.
All right, so 1 year, no acting whatsoever. Does that mean that year 2 you started acting, or was that
Yeah, year
2
two.
years no acting, and then when did you start?
It
acting?
was year 1, and then actually, so this was all sort of transitioning over the second year, because I say I worked at these places for 2 years. It was a year and a good amount of change, because by my second or so year in New York, I realized I wanted to make a lot more money and I wanted to work less. How do you do that?
Yeah.
Silence. None of us have
Yeah,
an
we don't
answer.
have the
idea.
yeah.
I'm still trying to
Ready?
figure that out.
You
get
win the
a
lottery.
job. Ready? You get
Yeah.
a job in finance.
Oh?
Okay.
And this is what it was, right? I had friends that were assistants to executive assistants to, working up the ranks in financial firms and hedge funds. And they were making so much more money than I was, and I was making good money, but I was working around the clock.
Yeah, right.
And it took about 7 months to get a resume that would reflect that I knew what the hell I was doing in a financial firm, and to make the contacts for a recommendation for somebody to get me in the door. And I started working at Citibank.
So what did you have to do for 7 months to get that resume?
I just kept working, and it was 7 months to like make the contacts and try to get my foot in the door at a financial firm. Right. Because I was, a friend of mine at the time said something along the lines of, well, I mean, if you want to make real money, you got to go where the real money is. It's in finance.
Smart.
And I was like, oh, it's in finance. Just go to finance. Hello, guys.
Here to make money.
I'm here for the money. Like, how are you? And he goes, I don't know, Shell, are you an actor or not?
Oh, there you go.
And
challenge.
I was like, oh, it was a challenge. He threw down a challenge.
Challenge accepted.
So that's part one of our conversation with Shelly Shenoy, which is all about paying your dues and just finding a way to, I guess, to set yourself up for future success. Larry Shea, what are your takeaways from that conversation?
I think this is something that we don't talk about enough on this show, right? We talk about people's dreams and achieving their dreams, but, sometimes you have to just keep the lights on, pay the bills, keep a roof over your head, get food on the table. And I think this is a great example of Shelly doing everything she possibly do to keep her dream alive, even if it means putting the dream on the shelf for a little while and doing what she needs to do to survive. And I don't think we talk about it enough that, here's an example of someone who hustled, hard work, dedication. The dream's still alive, but it is on the shelf for a minute.
I think we talk about this a lot on the show and say, and it really is true that the road to success, it's never, ever a straight line. There are so many zigs and zags. And when you talk about Shelly, especially in part one here, there are so many zigs and zags. I mean, literally, she literally ran off the road in this case. Right? She literally ran off the road and had to get, and has to use an insurance check to make that dream come true. Now, I mean, this is not going to happen to all of us in our lifetimes for the most part, but hey, good on her. She took that opportunity and turned it into something, and turned that something into something, and then turned that something into something. And that's how it happens. That's just how it happens.
Absolutely. And there's a theme here that's come out from a lot of our different episodes, and it's effectively just say yes. Whatever it is, whatever comes up, if you're anywhere near an opportunity, just say yes. And, Shelly walking through her experience at the restaurant, running around, and in my personal favorite, on her day off, sleeping in, she gets a phone call. Hey, we need a teacher today. And she figured out a way to say yes, even though it was a little dangerous. I'm not really sure how that played out. But anyway.
She had her Jack Black School of Rock moment.
Yeah, she lived the School of Rock, and it worked out. I mean, it's just raise your hand and say yes.
And it's a brilliant story. How about the fact that she got just enough from the insurance company to make it exactly $4,000, which is what she had told herself she needed. I mean, there's just a lot of the gods are with her, to keep the dream alive and to keep plugging, because sometimes that's what you need to do. It's a hard road. I love what you said, T, about the zigs and zags, to keep the dream alive, because you can't give up. Perseverance is your friend. You really have to embrace it. And she's willing to do absolutely anything to keep that dream alive.
Absolutely. And what we're going to find out in part two of our conversation is how she managed to convert all of that into incredible success. So make sure you come back for that. Shelly, thank you so much for joining this episode of No Wrong Choices. For everybody who wants to learn more about her before episode 2, you can visit her website at ShellyShenoy.com. We also thank you for joining us. Please be sure to give us a 5-star rating and follow along on your podcasting platform if you like what you heard. We also encourage you to join the conversation by visiting our website at NoWrongChoices.com and by following us on social media by searching for No Wrong Choices. On behalf of Tushar Saxena and Larry Shea, I'm Larry Samuels. Thanks again for joining us. Never forget, there are no wrong choices on the road to success. We learn from every experience.